Hey, check it out. We got a JLG box. Yeah, of course I already opened it. New parts, man. It's like Christmas. I know what's in it, but I couldn't wait. We got all our transmission pieces in here for our JLG transmission project. There's the new pistons. Oh yeah, nice. All right, so just quickly knock this clutch back apart here. This is back to our reverse clutch. And it is a little beat up down inside there, but it's just right where the bottom plate contacts. So I think we're gonna be okay. That is a pressure plate for the piston. You can see that the piston has actually been delaminating. The rubber's been delaminating off of there, so that's a bit of a problem. And then right there, you can see where it's got a big chunk missing, and that's the final blowout. The new pistons are a different style. I'll get that all out here in a bit. But it looks like I can just clean this up and it's going to be very nicely reusable. We're not going to have to change any hard parts. There, I washed this all out and cleaned it up nice. It seems like we're going to be just fine, so I'm happy with that. There's our new pistons. They are quite an updated style from the old stamped steel ones. This is a little bit more like you'd find in a John Deere transmission. They got the little check balls there. Those check balls do all kinds of different things. Sometimes it's to slow down the apply pressure of the piston. Sometimes it's to bleed oil off while the piston releases. Sometimes it's an anti-cavitation check ball so that while the centrifugal force is in play with these running, if the oil is in there, sometimes it'll suck the piston in and actually apply the clutch a little bit and make it drag. So you have to give that oil somewhere to go. So I don't know on this particular setup what that check ball is for, but you do have to make sure that it's loose. You can hear it jingling there. Anyway, see if we can find some seals and put this thing together. I apologize for the lighting here today, guys. I got the sun shining in the windows and I like it. So we're gonna lube up our O-rings a little bit here. I'll slide one on. Looks like my groove is there. Kind of a loose fitting O-ring, which is pretty typical. And this one here goes to the inside. Just lube this all up. This is just gun grease. This is a synthetic gun grease that I got here. Okay, that guy is ready. I got lots in here around the shoulder where it has to slide in. Okay. Oh, slippery, hard to hang on to. Somebody greased it. All right. Let me clean my fingers off here a little bit so it's not quite all so slippery. We'll see what we got to do to punch that guy down there. Sometimes these have locating dowels or tabs to keep the piston from spinning, but this particular one does not. I guess they're not too worried about that. So once you get that down there, well, come over here and look at this. Once you get that piston down inside there, you want to check all the way around your outside edges and your inside edges and make sure that you don't have like a little piece of O-ring anywhere or anything. That would alert you to the fact that it's been cut. So I don't have any pieces of O-ring anywhere around here, so I know that piston is not cut. Should be good. So then I'm going to put my Belleville springs on there, and then we can pressure test that and make sure that it works. Okay, sorry about that there, guys. I got called away, had to take off and do a quick job there, but I'm back now. The lighting's a little better now. I don't have the sun shining through the window, so that's kind of nice. Where were we at here? Oh, so, okay, we got the piston in, and that popped in there really nice. Now we got to put our Belleville return springs in. That's these guys here. So these are just kind of like a spring steel washer, and you can see how they're kind of cone shaped, eh? You see that? So the way this typically works is your piston has these thrust surfaces here, and so if you put that thing in there this way, this spring isn't going to do anything. It's got to be with the outside pushing on the thrust surfaces like that. So if that one is going to go on the outside, then that means the next one has to be like this. Because if you put it the same way, there's no spring. But if you put them opposite directions, then these two inside thrust surfaces contact against each other, and what you're left with is a spring. And this is too strong for me to actually squeeze that, but that's how that works. So you always want to be looking on your pistons where the thrust surface is. Sometimes it's right, they have a special lip right on the center, and then you want these the other way. In this case, they're going to go like that, and then the next one is going to go on top like that, and you just have to keep on putting each one opposite directions so that it's the, I guess, whatever, well, you know what I'm trying to say here, right? I don't have to explain everything, do I? Oh, that one I did, yeah, just like that. Okay, so that's your spring pack now. Every one of these now can flex together, and that's what pushes that back down. So on this one, there's usually some return spring, or what am I talking about? There's usually a snap ring that goes in here. You have to press this down with a special tool and then put a snap ring in, but this one does not have that. This one has a spacer like that, and then it's the press fit of the bearing sitting on there. That's what holds that down. So that bearing is on there super tight. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna drop these guys in like so. And then you can see here how these ones, all the way up until here, they hang on that collar. And then the last one doesn't. It misses. So we're gonna go press this new bearing on there, but you have to make sure that this is gonna stay lined up or it'll jam on the shoulder, and that creates a big problem. So we have to pay attention to that. So we'll put our spacer on, and let's go press that bearing back into place. Oh, you beat me over here. All right, let's lift this up a little ways. This will probably be enough to get it started. All right, make sure those springs are kind of lined up in there. This isn't very straight. Let me see if I can true this up a little bit here. Okay, I'll see if that's going to be enough to get it going here. That's really crooked, but we'll see. We will see. Okay, squeeze those in like that. So the idea is just real simple. Just press the bearing on there. Make sure that bearing is the right way. Oh, I think I reached the end of my thing already. Oh no. Oop, too far. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Someday I will get a better press too. Huh. Well, that's weird. Why is it jamming? Oh, it's this piece is jamming. Oh, probably because this doesn't fit around the next lip there. Well, what are we gonna do then? Okay, what about this? A little piece of muffler pipe. Oh, that might not fit underneath there, eh? Oh, it's so close. Hey, look at that. I think muffler pipe will be strong enough to push that on there. When you get all your angles straight, it's amazing what you can actually do with thin material, you know? Yeah, look at that. It's gonna work like crazy. Ooh, that's much room do I have here before we get into a pickle with this? Seems like it's okay. Well, that seems to be it. Oh yeah, because we're jamming up one of those springs. So I don't know if you can tell, but this is really out of line. See here how it's off? Get the camera in the right spot. It's off like that, sticking out this side. So I need to push that guy back over so it'll pop over that shoulder. My tripod is not tall enough for you to see inside here, so... Okay, that's looking a lot better. So that's where you gotta really pay attention to what you're doing. We're working on this stuff because it's real easy to wreck stuff. Okay, now we're seemingly bottomed out again. Yeah, think we're good. Okay, let's go back to the workbench. Okay, the nice thing about this DeWalt table is with those slots in there that are sometimes a pain. I'm working on a clutch pack again that has just the right size of shaft that it fits in there. And then with the bearing, it just holds this thing for me so nicely working on it. It doesn't just fall over, so that's pretty nice. It's a little bit of a wobbly table sometimes, but as far as being mobile, it's pretty sweet. So now I want to test this thing. There's nothing holding that piston in there besides those return springs and the press fit of that bearing. In order to set this up properly, you got to put all your clutches in there, put your gear on top and your snap ring, and then that snap ring holds it from coming back. But I want to test it before I put it all together to make sure that I don't have a leak and that everything works good. So I'm going to do that first. I'll have to experiment a little bit here and see which one of these holes is actually the one that applies that clutch. So let me find a blower here. So I'm just using an air blower with a rubber nozzle. Oh, that's exactly the one right there. Oh yeah, it works awesome. But you come, get over here and see this. So a jammer with a little bit of air pressure, and that will fill the cavity in behind that piston. You'll see that piston come up, and then we don't want it to be leaking. So you see it came up. It's not dropping, there's no leaking. It's a perfect seal. When I let this off, it goes back down. The return springs bring it down. So that's how you pressure test a clutch pack like that. See, now I've tested the check ball inside there. I've tested my outer sealing ring, my inner sealing ring, and I've made sure that piston moves nice and free and easy. When I put that clutch back together, I know for a fact that it's going to work. Unless, of course, I screw up one of the sealing rings putting it back together. But if that does happen where it doesn't work, I know it's nothing to do with inside the clutch pack because that piston is all working exactly the way it should, and I know that for a fact. So there we go. Let's get our discs ready and drop them in there because that's the next step. Okay, so this is all my fibers for this. 11 fibers go into that clutch pack, and the right way to do that is to have that all soaking in oil. So that's what's in here is just hydraulic oil, trans-hydraulic oil, and that's soaking, working that oil into those, into the fiber on those discs. So that way when you first start it up and they want to slip a little bit, they're not dry. It's a way to kind of like season your clutches, I guess. And over here, I have my steels for this one. So real simple, they're all the same. You start off always with a steel plate on top of your piston. Sometimes the first plate is a lot thicker. In this case, they didn't do that. They're all the same thickness except for the top one, the top reaction plate. That one we're gonna reuse on here because it was in perfect shape and it's like $300 for that one. So all these other ones though, I put all new ones. There was about 2 of these that I could have reused, but when you're doing a clutch pack like that, you don't reuse these thin ones. You get rid of them. When the clutch has been burnt out like that, you just get rid of them. They've all been hot. Don't even take a chance. So you start off with one like that, and then Drag this guy a little closer. Then we're going to take one of these fibers and drop it in there. And then we're going to do another steel and another fiber. And we're just going to go through the whole thing until these are all used up. So these fiber discs have the splines on the inside, and they're going to spline on the hub, which we'll get later. And then these steel discs, they spline on the outside. So they obviously spline into the drum. And so when that clutch is applied, by using the inner teeth to the hub and the outer teeth to the drum, it effectively makes this one piece. So now no longer can the hub spin freely of the drum. And that would be clutch engaged. I think most of you guys watching this probably know that already, but oh, these ones are stuck together. Oh, there we go. There's always somebody that's trying to learn some of this stuff, so. All right, a couple more. Another steel one there, and then we got another fiber. And we got another steel. Looks like we got, what, 3 more? That one, and that one. If I can get it in there. There we go. And this one. And this one. And then the last fiber goes like that, and then I'll go get that reaction plate. Okay, so there's our reaction plate that goes on top, and as you can see, that's the wear side, and it's perfect. Like, obviously you can see that it has rubbed, but it hasn't wore in. There's no grooves, nothing like that, so that plate is in perfect shape. You can see how thick that thing is, and then you can see how it bevels down. That's because your snap ring fits in here and in that groove, and I'll show you that in a bit. But that guy is going to stick in there like so, and then I'm going to go, well, before I even do that, I'll show you this yet too. So if you want to double check yourself if you've got the right clutches in there and the right number, you can always tell by the space here for your snap ring. So that snap ring now should fit right in here, and there should be just a little bit of play up and down that these can move. If you have to jam that snap ring in there with a hammer, you probably have your clutch clearance wrong. And why that's important is because if it's really tight, that hub is always trying to spin these discs inside here separate from the drum, and if you have pressure on there, it'll smoke those clutches right away. It's got to be loose enough that the oil can spin out of there, and these guys can loosen up and spin free like this. Okay, now if it's too loose, then your piston has to come too high up before it engages, and it can mess with the timing of the clutch, as well as if it comes too far, it can actually pop the piston right out and blow the seals out. So it all has to be kind of right. There's usually a spec for how much clearance to put in here, and so it's a wise idea always to measure that. I can tell just from experience, I can tell that this is about where we want to be. So let me get the snap ring and throw that in there. So that's our snap ring. And on this clutch pack, there's no pressure on those, so this should just clip right in there like easy peasy. There you go, just like that. So now, see how I can lift that a little bit? Like there's, I don't know, there's maybe 40 thousandths there. That's about where we want to be, because now when that clutch, when that shaft sits in there sideways, well, I mean, you know, horizontal like this, then when that hub is spinning, these guys can all spin free and pull apart a little bit and let the oil out. So that's what we're looking for there. Oop, now I made a mess. Now's the fun part. Now we got to try and get that silly hub splined into this thing, which means you got to work this around and trying to get all the way down through all these little discs, which that can be a little bit tricky. Okay, so there's our hub. I already put new bearing races in there and just put some grease on them. But now all these splines have to line up through all those discs all the way down there. So I got 11 discs that have to get splined up. So what you wind up doing is just kind of jiggling it back and forth and just kind of working it and playing with it. Just letting the weight of this drop itself down as it sees fit. And when we're all the way to the bottom, this gap should be about gone. You can kind of tell once you hit the bottom. It takes almost like a little bit of experience really to know, I guess, but see, I can feel it when I turn it. I can feel it that it's grabbing some other teeth yet, so I know that we're not quite where we want to be. And the more of those that you get splined up, the harder the thing turns. It gets harder and harder and harder to get the last ones lined up. I think I got 2 more discs left to go here. Yeah, see, and when I try and rock this thing a little bit, it just moves super easy, so I know I'm not splined all the way on those. My hands are so oily I can't even hang on to the thing right now. And these gears tend to be a little sharp on the hands, so I put some gloves on. Come on, find your way. There we go. No, see, it's not there yet because see how it rocks? And also, if I look inside there, I can see that my bearing is not seated in the race. So I got 1 more disc. Oh, there it is. There. Now, it just doesn't, I mean, you got to feel it, but it doesn't rock the same as before. And our gap here is gone. So now we've got all those teeth are splined. Spins nice and smooth. When I turn it, I can see the bearing turning inside there, which means it's against the race and putting pressure on it. So now we're good with that. Okay, so same thing. I greased up my bearing. He's going to go like that and fit into that race. And then that snap ring is going to go on top into this groove here once that thing is in there. And that's what actually holds that those return springs down in place, and the inner bearing as well is being sandwiched together with that guy. So now we'll have to go back to the press and press that guy into place. All right. That's sitting in there pretty nice. Where'd the other one go? This is probably... I think we're going to use that one. Can even put that on top just for a little better, flatter surface. I think I ran out of room again with my... Yeah, I'm hitting that shoulder again. So technically, this should fit, because it did last time. Oh no, it's like just doesn't quite fit. Oh, there it is, got it. All right, if I get that lined up in the right spot, that should be able to push that down. I better close my tap. There we go, okay. There, we don't need a lot of pressure, we just want to get it seated, and then we'll check what the groove looks like for that snap ring. Yeah, it looks like that would fit in there. So before I take off back to the workbench, let me grab my snap ring pliers and just make real sure that they will actually fit in there. Okay, snap ring pliers. Now, these snap rings, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but oftentimes one side of that snap ring is going to be kind of rounded and the other side is going to be sharp and flat. So to me, that makes a difference which way that goes in there. I always try to put the sharp and flat side towards whichever side of the groove is, how do I say this? I try to put the rounded side basically towards the bearing and the sharp side towards the groove that it's all going to be pressing against, because that way I just feel like I get a better bite. If I put the rounded side towards the groove, I feel like the snap ring has an easier time of opening up and spreading around the top of the groove. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm doing my best. It's hard to do this talking to a camera and explain your stuff and try to do the job at the same time. I'm not complaining, I'm just saying. It's not that easy. All right, now I gotta pop that snap ring down a little bit there. There we go, just boom, right into place. So when the snap ring drops in and just snaps together like that, you know that you don't have, you know that it's together enough, if I can say it that way. All right, I got one more bearing I got to press on top of there. Let me go get that. Okay, now this here is the bearing that is going to sit in there like so, and then it's going to go inside the housing. The housing is going to come over top and sit on top of that guy. So that's the last piece of the puzzle outside of the sealing ring, which goes on top, and we'll get to that point yet too. Let's get this pressed on there. that's on there all the way. Well, it is on there all the way. Okay, we're good. Perfect. Now I just need the sealing ring on there and we're good to go. They're not snap rings, they're sealing rings, and there's all kinds of them because I ordered all of them for all the shafts. I got to pull all the shafts out and put these new sealing rings on all of them. So these guys, let me see if I can show you this here. These guys, on the end, they have this little piece that kind of clips in together, like so. Hopefully this is going to be clear enough on the camera. That's what we want to do. So we need to stretch it, get it over top, and then when it's in the groove, we have to overlap those and lock them into place. And that essentially becomes a solid sealing ring at that point. So it's usually not too bad. Slide it over top, get it in the groove, and you just pinch it with your fingers. And if you hold the top side here in, and then press the back with your thumb, you see how this side now comes farther out than that side? And then you should be able to just push it over and lock it in. Just like that. So you push this corner in and that side out, and that makes the ring basically oblong, and then you can just force it over and pop it into there. You have to be a little bit careful with these because they do break pretty easy. So even now, when I'm setting it inside here, in that groove, I want to make sure that I'm not damaging it. And yeah, see right now, it doesn't want to fit. It's too tight. So we're not going to force it. We're just right on the edge. So same thing, stick that thing on there like so. This is backwards for me, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And I'll hold that side in, force this one around, clip it in. Did I get it? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the reverse clutch pack, which was totally shot, is now rebuilt, and we know it works. We can also test it again now. Oh yeah, it's because I'm upside down. Right. This actually was originally this way. Yeah, this is the hub that goes into there. Whew, boy, that was like, what in the world just happened? Oh boy, okay. There we go. So now our clutches are applied, and now they're released. You can probably hear that, eh? You hear them apply, release, applied, release. If you got two guys, you can double check that by having one guy spin it like this and then have the other guy jam your pressure in there. And as soon as that thing engages, man, you ain't gonna turn it. So I don't need to do that. I know it's working, but anyway, sometimes it's just kind of fun to play with stuff like that. Okay, this one's done. Now it's time to do exactly the same thing to the forward clutch. See where we get. Well, good morning. It's a new day again. It's always a new day. The days go by fast, I tell you what. I had to call it quits yesterday. I had a headache. I wasn't feeling too good, so I was getting kind of late anyways. But hey, today we're going to do the forward clutch. And so you can see I've got this all laid out here. You might as well come have a closer look and let's talk about this for a minute. All right, so there's our forward clutch pack. And as you can tell, those steels are in really nice shape. They're not bent, they're not warped. They don't have hot spots, they're not scratched. The teeth are still good, so that's very nice. They're easily reusable. The fibers, though, you're not going to be able to tell on camera. The fibers are wore down quite a bit. Technically, I could put this back in the transmission, and they would work just fine for probably quite a while. But anytime you get into a job like this, where you have a clutch pack like forward that is used a lot, you always want to at least change the fibers because the fibers really are the wear part. The steels usually don't wear out unless you have some debris go through there. Or like in the case of that other clutch pack, the reverse pack, when it slips, they get hot and destroys everything too. So in this case, there's no issue that way with this clutch pack. It's in perfect shape. It's just the fibers are wore down a bit. So being that we have this all apart, we're going to put new fibers in it. And like I say, forward is used a ton, so this may last another year, maybe 2 years, I don't know, but if we put those new discs in there while the whole thing is apart anyway, it's going to last for years and years after. We're going to put an updated piston in there with new seals, same as we did on the reverse, and should be good after that. So let me get the rest of my stuff set up here, and let's get going on this. Alright, so I just got my new clutches soaking in the pan there, got these guys separated so I can reuse them. And I got to pull this guy apart. So first you're Gonna have that spacer in this one, and then you got all your Belleville washers. These ones we're gonna reuse. All look like they're in really nice shape, so I don't see why we can't reuse those guys. And now to get that piston out of there, sometimes they can be tight, sometimes they're not too tight. What works really good is just to use air pressure and blow it out. So if this is the same as the other one, it should be that port. So you just give it a little pop. There you go. And I don't know if you could see that, but that piston just kind of jumped up. And there it is. It's out. So this bonded rubber piston is the old style. Check valve is still loose, so this piston is still okay. This one is not delaminating like the other one was. The lip feels really good on the outside. Oh, this inside one's got a... Oh, maybe that was just... Oh yeah, what is that? That's some kind of debris in here. Anyway, we're going to change it. Seeing as we're in this far anyways. Just going to give this a wipe. We'll get the new piston over here and the new seals on it and get it installed and all that good stuff. Just, it's going to be very much of the same as the other clutch pack. There we go, guys. That one's done. Now we gotta get that transmission case ready for these to go back in, but I guess first I'm gonna have to pull all those other shafts out of there yet, and I wanna change these sealing rings on all of them because that's another wear item. We wanna make sure that all the other clutch packs are gonna get good proper oil pressure, so I guess we'll tackle that next.